Many IELTS test takers lose points in IELTS reading because they don't know how to solve true, false, not given questions. These questions are really hard because it's so difficult to figure out whether a statement is true, false, or not given. The problem is that most test takers don't have a strategy for solving these questions. So they make the same mistakes over and over again and can't improve. If you want to solve true, false, not given questions correctly and score high on IELTS reading, this video is for you. By the end of this video, you will know how to solve these questions fast. By the way, guys, if you're going to take your IELTS soon, check out my IELTS materials. There I teach you everything you need to score high. I show you step by step how to give high scoring answers. And of course, we do many practice tests together, so you will feel confident for your test. You can find the link to my course in the description box. And now let's get started. Let's have a look at a true, false, not given question. This is the reading passage. And this is the question. Are the following statements true, false, or not given according to the information in the passage above? The question then explains what true, false, not given means. True means that the statement matches, so says exactly the same as the information in the passage. False means that the statement contradicts the information in the passage. So this means that it says something different. Not given means that the information isn't in the passage. After the choices, you get a list of statements. You can use each choice more than once. So for example, you can say that two of the statements are true and one is false. But guys, pay attention when answering these questions. You can make a huge mistake here. This happened to me several times when I was practicing for IELTS reading, and I couldn't believe that I made this mistake. True, false, not given questions are very similar to yes, no, not given questions, which are also on the IELTS reading test. If you write yes instead of true or no instead of false, the answer is wrong because you have to say whether the statement is true, false, or not given. So make sure that you read the instructions carefully. When you start with a true, false, not given question, first look at the statements. Read them all quickly so you can see what the topics are. Then focus on each statement one at a time and find keywords. A keyword is something that isn't going to be paraphrased, such as a name or date, and that's amazing. This is why keywords are so powerful and help you find the correct answer fast. You can find these words exactly like that in the passage, so you don't have to waste time reading the whole thing. You just need to find the keyword and then have a look at the information around it. Let's start with the first statement. People from the German culture were the first in the world to make pottery. You can see a keyword here, the German culture. That is a proper name that won't be changed. Now you have picked out the keyword. The next step is to scan the passage for it. When you see the word, read around it to see if you can find the correct answer. The keyword German culture appears in the first sentence, but it isn't helpful because the sentence defines the term and shows that they lived a long time ago, but it doesn't say anything about being the first in the world to make pottery. So we need to keep looking. Next, you can see that they definitely all make pottery since it's one uniting feature. Again, this gives you good information, but doesn't show for sure that they were the first. So we have to keep reading. In fact, the earliest known pottery is from the German people. Guys, this paraphrases an idea from the statement in the question. The earliest known pottery is the same as the first in the world. So now we know that this statement is true. By the way, guys, if this video is helpful to you, hit the like button. Also, comment down below whether you find true, false, not given questions easy or hard. I would love to know how you feel about them. Now, let's move on to statement number 2. Because they had pottery, all of the German people lived in agricultural settlements. The keyword here is agricultural settlements. So we're looking for this in the passage. Have a look at the second sentence. It says, these people varied greatly in their habits, with the earliest being primarily hunter-gatherers and the latest being agrarian in large settlements. This means that there were agricultural settlements. So this sentence is important to answer the question. The sentence says the people varied greatly in their habits, which means that they were really different in what they did. It also shows you that they were not all agrarian or doing agriculture. Instead, the early people were hunter-gatherers, and intermediate groups tended groves of trees such as peach and nuts for food. So this statement is false because the passage says that not all of the Jomon people lived in agricultural settlements. The point you must pay attention to is whether there is any information in the passage that definitely shows that the statement is wrong. Let's look at the last statement. Jomon people cooked peaches and nuts in the pottery that they made. I remember seeing peaches and nuts somewhere. This is our keyword, guys, so let's scan for this keyword. You can find it here at the end of the second sentence. Now, let's read around that keyword. The sentence says, intermediate groups tended groves of trees such as peach and nuts for food. It doesn't say that they cooked the peaches or nuts. It only states that they tended. This means they raised trees that grew them. So let's keep looking whether the passage says anything about cooking peaches and nuts in pottery. Yes, there is something about cooking here. The strong pots were able to withstand heat, allowing the people to cook foods and gain more nutrients. And then the passage goes on saying that this made people healthier and enabled them to explore many different art forms. But there is nothing in the sentence saying that they cooked peaches and nuts. Now, think about this question, guys. Does the passage say that they did not cook peaches and nuts? No, it doesn't say that. We really have no idea what foods they cooked from the information given in the passage. So the statement is not given because the passage doesn't say anything about what is mentioned in the statement. One of the reasons why so many test takers have problems with true or false not given questions is that it's so hard to figure out whether a statement is not given. You can tell if the answer is true or false, but you can take a long time looking if you don't see the answer. Therefore, if you can't find the information in the passage, then mark not given on your answer sheet. Let's get to the final tip. Don't use your own knowledge to answer questions. Many test takers use their own knowledge of the topic to answer the question. So for example, they think that a statement must be true, and then they write down true. Guys, even if you know for sure that a statement is true or false, ignore that. You must only consider the passage because the IELTS examiners test whether you understand what is given in the text. That's it! That's how to solve true, false, not given questions in IELTS reading. I hope you guys liked this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also share this video with your friends so they can improve their IELTS score too. See you in the next video!